Retailers factor in features and cost as they find the right e-commerce platform for them. And that's because e-commerce platforms are constantly changing. As they continue to innovate with new tools and tactics to boost sales, including AI-generated content, retailers need to integrate new systems to upgrade their e-commerce websites. From there, they can capitalize on what the platform offers to create smooth experiences for their customers. I'm Abbas, and I'm Digital Commerce 360's Associate Editor. To discuss how merchants select e-commerce platforms, I'm speaking with Ben Lorenz, Managing Director and Co-founder at Human Element.
Why platforms, right?
Why platforms?
I've been working in this industry since the late 90s, since before there were platforms. And so we're sort of reaching in this bell curve where we're starting to get a lot of feature parity between the e-commerce platforms that are out there. And I'm going to throw Salesforce into that mix, although that's not a platform we work on super often. It's a platform that still falls within this, sort of feature parity type realm. And so we're sort of entering an age where, upgrading to an e-commerce platform falls under either a return on investment decision, a comfortability factor with the team. So sometimes a team will say, hey, I'm just really comfortable with what we've been able to do on Shopify, and I have a team that's trained on that. So you might get a new leadership change or something like that. A team comes in and says, hey, we want to upgrade to Shopify. And so we will migrate them from Adobe Commerce or Magento or BigCommerce to the platform of their choice. And so right now we do a lot in terms of determining what the return on investment is, what the total cost of ownership is, and how the licensing works out between each one of the platforms. There was a point about 24 months ago where the feature parity wasn't quite as similar between the platforms, but now they're all sort of starting to catch up. And what you as an e-commerce store owner are worried about are, do I have a team that can do this work and that I trust? Do I have an internal team that understands the tools that I'm putting in front of them? And is the licensing meeting my needs over time? Some people have real big preferences on whether they host their systems on premise or whether they're in a SaaS environment.
Okay. What are some of the benefits of working with basically the true platform, and then on the other hand, with a customized version like you were just talking about?
Yeah, one of our recommendations as we head into a discovery session with a client is, hey, you can really allow these platforms to do the investment for you. So don't do a lot of customization. Allow the platform to do, a lot of that development work for you. That's what it's for. So for example, one of the newer features in Shopify is that they're starting to use some AI to write product descriptions for you, right? Allow them to build that feature for you. Don't go build it on your own and pay someone like Human Element to customize a big piece of the software to do something that the platform is already investing in. And so what we try to do is lead our customers into the direction of trying to use things as much off the shelf as we can, so that upgrades are easier. And when they're trying to do migrations from one platform to the other, the data is, pretty easy to kind of transform back and forth.
AI and machine learning often get lumped together and, like you mentioned, confused. Can you talk about kind of the differences of which one plays into what aspect of e-commerce platforms?
History lesson, people used to say, well, it's in the cloud, right? Like that was the big buzzword, right? And then me knowing hosting platforms and how things get hosted is, well, yeah, it's in the cloud, but eventually it's actually on a server in a rack somewhere in a hosting facility, exactly the same as it was before somebody invented the word cloud, right? And so I think there's a lot of wishing and hopeful marketing language around the term AI. AI alludes to the fact that this artificial intelligence is starting to do some of the thinking for you. And really what it's doing is it's consuming all available knowledge as you're training that AI to do something that is an amalgamation of something we've done before. And so to me, in my mind, if to be a purist, that is not intelligence, that is machine learning, right? And so we find that that it can be extremely helpful, in search algorithms and product recommendations. And if you go on Amazon, say your kids go on Amazon and start searching on, whatever, that they just ruin your algorithm. All of a sudden, you're getting all the things that they're searching for and not the things you're searching for. And so it's already in place and being used. And so I think that the difference between a true artificial intelligence will be the moment that it calls out and says, hey, why are you selling this type of product when this type of product is more profitable and would be more saleable to an end user. And oh, by the way, here's the website to sell it, if it did that for you automatically.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're there yet. I think we still need humans.
Okay. And speaking of humans, there is always a user-friendly component to any software.
Yeah.
How does human element go about creating more user-friendly, self-serviceable customer experiences for its clients' e-commerce sites?
Yeah, we use several tools to do basically an analysis of sort of the user workflow that goes through the website. So we'll do some sort of conversion analysis first. We'll use analytics to do this, and we'll see where in the purchase process people are falling off. Possibly it could be a time on task issue, or it could be a time on page issue that doesn't lead to a conversion. And so we'll use tools like, if anybody's familiar with Hotjar, it's a screen recording application that allows you to watch people actually browse the site, and will glean from that information where people are getting hung up. And so you can also run some A/B testing from those types of tools that allow us to see, like, hey, if we did this or we did this, these things convert better. And really, you have to have a human in place to start to digest that information and understand what type of tests, what type of things you're looking for are going to smooth that transaction out, so that you can convert at the best rate possible. I will say the one thing that e-commerce platforms in general are doing very well is they have built off-the-shelf templates that are already taking advantage of some of these types of things. And we find that retailers have a tendency to think that they know better. And so they will go in and say, well, my gut feeling is this, and you should do this, right? And so our position is, well, let's go test and see if this idea works better than that idea.
And going back to what we'll call the big three of BigCommerce, Magento, and Shopify, what are some of the benefits to using each of them, and what are some similarities and differences between them?
So you can really draw the line, like, if you are comfortable as a company with having a SaaS product, right, that you just continue to pay for, it's part of your outgoing expenditure on e-commerce. If you stop paying for it, it goes away, right? You technically don't have a tangible thing, right? Like, you could download all your product information and have all your customers and all that kind of stuff in your ERP system. But if you're using a SaaS platform and you stop paying for it, it goes away. That is one of the areas where we see customers, balk a little bit at the SaaS decision. In some cases, it's really not an issue with them. Their plan is to stick with that and to roll with it. If you look at systems like Adobe Commerce or Magento, they have an option for a cloud version where it is a little more SaaS, but you can customize the base code or the core code within Adobe Commerce and in Magento. I would also like to point out that this is the same concept with Salesforce. So you said the big three. I include Salesforce in there. You might say four. Like that's still a pretty prevalent platform and highly customizable. And so you're really sort of balancing whether I want to customize core code or I want to stick to a SaaS-based platform that shares core code among many, many users. And so in the case of B2C customers, we find that it's a lot easier for them to get along with shared base code. And so they like using something like a BigCommerce or a Shopify. It allows them, speed to market. It's cheaper to get an initial site up and running. And really the feature parity between the SaaS models is pretty good. On the flip side, a B2B customer has some pretty highly customized rules, right? And some of those rules are baked into their ERP systems. And so the e-commerce system has to adhere to, or at least be able to be customized in such a way that it can play nicely with how the ERP system wants to do things. So things like negotiated pricing. I have 10,000 different customers and I have 10,000 different price lists, and they all get different prices for these products that I sold them. So you have to be able to accommodate for that. The SaaS products are starting to catch up to that concept, and there's ways to do that there. But in the on-prem or the customizable code type applications like Salesforce and Adobe Commerce, you can just customize the core to make that kind of stuff happen, especially like payment gateways, buying on PO, and having some just kind of unique workflow rules around how that stuff works. B2B offers the need for a lot more customization sometimes.
And is there a certain platform you would recommend for a company that does both B2B and B2C sales?
BigCommerce and Shopify have both made big strides in being able to do some of this. And so within the last, I think, 24 to 36 months, both of them have become multi-site, which allows you to manage multiple sites from one interface. So that gives you a little bit of advantage. They sort of caught up with the Magento concept, Adobe Commerce concept in doing that. They're also offering some light B2B features and becoming more advanced as the months go by. And I think for a company who has a pretty straightforward e-commerce and B2B approach, you could use either Shopify or BigCommerce to do that. In the case that you have a customer where their B2B purchasing process is a lot more complex, they have a really large number of SKUs. We're talking, 50,000, maybe 400,000, 500,000, or 1 million SKUs. And there's a lot of different business rules around how those products can be purchased or have to be put in the cart or even shown to a particular customer. Sometimes some customers can only see a little bit of the catalog, not the whole catalog. So there's a lot of customization around that. We generally, if there's a lot of customization, we lean towards Adobe Commerce.
Okay. And how does human element determine which e-commerce platform provider would enhance the merchant's site functionality? And to do that, what needs would you have to factor in the most?
So generally what we do is we have a discovery period with each client. So if a client comes to us and say they're on WooCommerce, right? We know WooCommerce is a perfectly acceptable program or application for somebody who has a limited product set, right? And maybe they don't have much integration into backend systems. It works fine. It can take traffic. It can sell things. It can put things in a cart. We would go through a discovery process with them to say, hey, what's your 24-month plan to grow this e-commerce business? And if part of their plan is, well, we're going to buy 2 companies and we're going to add 10,000 products, we immediately know that WooCommerce is going to struggle and it's going to fight. It's going to be a very expensive venture to get that to do what we want it to do. I'm not saying people haven't done it on WooCommerce. I'm just saying that we know from our experience it will be easier in another platform and your ROI will be higher to do it within another platform. And so then we'll go evaluate the Shopify, the BigCommerce, and the Adobe Commerce or Magento tool set to see which fits most closely to their feature requirements. And then we'll do an ROI on what licensing, what hosting, and all that stuff will cost prior to getting into the project. And then we'll do a 24-month roadmap for them on the platform that we've suggested, so that they have got a workable tool that they can sort of sell internally. And if they're working with an investment firm or a board, they can go present that to the board and say, hey, based on these criteria, we think this is the right direction to go.
Following up on the concept of upgrading, for example, from Magento 1 to Magento 2, that's like with any software upgrade, that's typically just a security thing and just a smoothing out the bugs type of situation. What are some signs that a website is due for a change from one platform to another, a replatform?
We look for a website to last anywhere from 3 to 5 years generally. As like if we were to do a cost of ownership, like we look at a 3 to 5 year window before you do either an upgrade or a major facelift. And so websites have a tendency with content managers to get a little stale. Things start to look the same. Maybe they're not updating their blog posts as often as they used to. You get 3-4 year old blog posts running at the top. Imagery starts to get disparate. Maybe they've changed creative directors in the time that they're that the site's been live. And more often than not, the search providers have changed their algorithms, and so some of the metadata and tagging that needs to be done on the site isn't keeping up with the times, right? And so they may be falling down in the search engine rankings. And so one of the things we try to do when we're talking about an upgrade is to say, hey, we want to take advantage of what's happening today and make a plan that is looking at least 24 months into the future for how we can grow and adapt with what is changing. One example is I think the search engine market is going to change dramatically with the advent of AI. If you use ChatGPT or anything of the like, go ask ChatGPT a question, and its job is to give you the answer, right? And so if you think about that in terms of search, find me the cheapest bottle of water on any website in the US, right? And immediately the AI is going to try to go out, find the cheapest bottle of water anywhere on a website in the US and give you one answer. And so today, if you look at a Google search results, you get sponsors, you get things weighted to the top based on their algorithms, all that kind of stuff. In the next 24 to 48 months, things in the search engine world are going to change dramatically through the use of ChatGPT and search. And so we believe that having relevant content that is targeted to the questions that users are going to ask is going to be of paramount importance. If it's truly the question of price is king, we want that page to come up at the top, the cheapest bottle of water. But if it's something really unique, we'll say in the music industry, I want a 1967 Stratocaster blonde with, rosewood neck, right? You want that exact product to be the one that the search engine finds. And you're going to get maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 results, and they'll be separated out by price. And so that's going to be the difference in how things work. The sponsored ads, that kind of stuff, I think they will attempt to keep that around as long as they can, but there are going to be algorithms out there that search for exactly what you're asking for. And that's going to be a big shift.